But Marilyn Monroe overcame a difficult childhood to become one of the world's biggest and most enduring sex symbols. Monroe's 1954 marriage to baseball great Joe DiMaggio only lasted 9 months. Just another failure in a string of unsuccessful relationships. She was also married to playwright Arthur Miller from 1956 to 1961. Monroe overcame a difficult childhood to become an international star. She never knew her father, and her mother Gladys developed psychiatric problems and was eventually placed in a mental institution. After some success as a model, Norma Jean Baker dyed her hair blonde, changed her name to Marilyn Monroe, and signed her first movie contract. But her acting career didn't really take off until the 1950s. 53's Gentlemen Prefer Blondes was a hit, and Monroe continued to find success in a string of light comedic fare, such as How to Marry a Millionaire, There's No Business Like Show Business, and The 7-Year Itch. With her breathy voice and hourglass figure, Monroe became the ultimate blonde bombshell. For her marriage to playwright Arthur Miller, Monroe converted to Judaism, and she lived quietly for 2 years with her new husband. Miller wrote The Misfits for Monroe, but by early 1961, the couple had divorced.
Good. Are you enjoying your honeymoon?
Very much, yeah.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Although she was typecast as a dumb blonde, in reality, Monroe wielded considerable power for a woman in the 1950s movie industry. She broke her contract and moved to New York to study at the Actors Studio with Lee Strasberg. She founded her own company, Marilyn Monroe Productions, making Bus Stop, which wowed the critics. But even with success, self-doubt started to creep in. Depression, drugs, and alcohol soon followed. Marilyn began a habit of arriving late to work, and sometimes not being able to work at all. But it was Monroe's va-va-voom beauty, provocative clothes, and champagne blonde tresses that really epitomized the Hollywood sex symbol. During her career, Monroe's films grossed more than $200 million. Her amazing image still remains popular today as an icon of sex appeal and beauty. Monroe took time out from her honeymoon with Joe DiMaggio to perform for troops in Korea in 1954. She performed 10 shows in 4 days, in front of audiences that totaled more than 100,000 soldiers and Marines. Later, Monroe recalled that the trip was the best thing that ever happened to me.
In front of a camera, she was someone supernatural. She made the cameramen and photographers mad. She knows how to capture the light and knows that Bert Stern will restore it.
Monroe's supreme asset was her voluptuousness, as bewitching in still photographs as on the big screen. Photographers have said she knew she was superb at creating still photographs, and she loved doing it. The last to photograph her was Bert Stern in 1962, shortly before her death.
She was very, very fussy on who photographed her. She, in fact, had approval of every one of the pictures. She would sit there with a grease pencil and cross them out, or pinking shears and cut them. She knew who she wanted to photograph her and when she wanted to be photographed. Fortunately, I was one of the last to ever photograph her.
Monroe was a global icon of the latter 20th century, and perhaps the most photogenic. At only 36 years old, Marilyn Monroe died in 1962. Though murder was speculated, it was officially ruled as a drug overdose. Rising from pin-up girl to international superstar, Monroe endures as one of movies' greatest and most beloved icons.